Oops, was that your Harvard acceptance letter? Madison smirked, dropping the shredded pieces of paper at my feet. Dad's money is for his real kids, not some charity case he inherited. Her brother Tyler leaned against the doorframe, both of them blocking my escape from what used to be my study room. My name is Olivia Bennett, and at 18, I was watching my stepfather's precious twins destroy my future, one acceptance letter at a time. The worst part? They didn't even try to hide it. Why would they? Their father, Richard, had made it clear from day one that his perfect twins could do no wrong. I stared at the confetti of my dreams scattered across the floor. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all gone. 3 years of perfect grades, countless sleepless nights, and more extracurricular activities than I could count, destroyed in minutes by two entitled 17-year-olds who couldn't stand the idea of their father's money going to someone else's education. You know, Tyler added, casually ripping open another envelope. Dad always said Mom's charity case would end up disappointing him. Guess he was right. He paused, pretending to read the letter before tearing it to pieces. Oh, look, Columbia. Way too expensive for someone like you. I remained silent, which only seemed to irritate them more. Madison stepped closer, her designer shoes crunching the papers beneath her feet. Nothing to say. No tears. Come on, Oliver, where's the drama? You're usually so good at playing the perfect student. The thing is, they didn't know my mother. They didn't know Emily Bennett, the woman who worked 3 jobs to put me through private school before she met their father. The woman who spent every spare moment teaching me the value of education and independence. The woman who, even after marrying Richard, kept her own bank account and continued working, despite his insistence that she didn't need to. You done? I asked calmly, bending down to gather the pieces of my letters. My composure seemed to throw them off balance. They were used to their victims crying, pleading, or running to their father. I did none of those things. What's wrong with you? Madison demanded, her perfectly manicured hands on her hips. Don't you get it? You're not going to college. Dad's not paying for you. You're nothing but a burden he took on when he married your pathetic mother. I thought about my mom then, about how she'd smiled mysteriously when I worried about college costs. Everything's taken care of, sweetheart, she'd said, just 2 months before the cancer took her. Just focus on getting those acceptance letters. That was 6 months ago. 6 months of living with Richard and his twins, watching them systematically try to erase every trace of my mother from the house. 6 months of Richard's subtle hints about community college being a more appropriate choice for someone in my situation. Actually, I said, standing up with the torn pieces in my hands, I think you're the ones who don't get it. Before either of them could respond, my phone buzzed. The caller ID read, Harrison and Associates, my mother's lawyers. The same lawyers Richard had been trying to contact since Mom's death, claiming he needed to sort out some paperwork. Excuse me, I said, stepping between them. I need to take this call. Whatever, Madison scoffed. Probably the financial aid office calling to reject you. Come on, Tyler, we're done here. I waited until they left, their laughter echoing down the hallway before answering the call. Hello? Miss Bennett? This is James Harrison. I apologize for the delay, but as per your mother's instructions, we were to wait until you received all your college acceptance letters before contacting you. I looked down at the shredded papers in my hand. I received them. Excellent. Your mother left specific instructions about your education fund. Would you be able to come to our office tomorrow at 2 p.m.? There are some documents you need to sign now that you're 18. Education fund. I felt a smile tugging at my lips as pieces started falling into place. Of course, Mr. Harrison. Should I bring my stepfather? There was a pause on the other end. That won't be necessary. Your mother was very clear about keeping this matter between you and the firm. She mentioned something about preventing external interference with your choices. Even after death, my mother was protecting me. I thought about all those extra hours she worked, even after marrying Richard. The mysterious appointments she kept. The quiet smile when Richard talked about his plans for the twins' education. Miss Bennett, Mr. Harrison's voice brought me back to the present. One more thing, your mother left a letter for you. She asked us to give it to you along with the fund documentation. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I'll see you tomorrow. Mr. Harrison smiled. Emily was quite savvy with investments. She also had a substantial life insurance policy that she kept separate from her marriage to Richard. She was adamant about maintaining financial independence. He pulled out an envelope cream-colored with my name written in my mother's elegant handwriting. She asked me to give you this once everything was in place. I opened the letter carefully, my heart racing as I began to read. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, then you've received your college acceptance letters, and I'm no longer there to celebrate with you. I'm sorry for that, sweetheart, but I'm not sorry for preparing you for this moment. I knew when I married Richard that his children would never accept you. I saw how they treated others, how they viewed money as their birthright rather than a privilege. Richard indulged them too much, and I worried about how that would affect your future. That's why I never stopped working, never fully combined our finances. Richard called it stubborn pride, but it was actually maternal instinct. I needed to ensure that your dreams wouldn't be at the mercy of others' generosity or lack thereof. This fund is yours, completely separate from Richard and the twins. Use it wisely, but don't let anyone make you feel guilty for having it. You've earned this through your hard work and dedication. Remember what I always told you. Education is the one thing nobody can take away from you. All my love, Mom. I wiped away tears as Mr. Harrison discreetly pushed a box of tissues toward me. There's more, he said gently. Your mother left specific instructions about handling any interference with your college applications. He pulled out another document. She suspected someone might try to sabotage your opportunities. That's why she had me maintain direct contact with each university you applied to. We have copies of all your acceptance letters, safely stored here. I thought about Madison and Tyler, so smug as they shredded my letters, thinking they were destroying my only copies. Mom had outmaneuvered them before they even knew there was a game to play. Additionally, Mr. Harrison continued, the trust is structured so that neither Richard nor his children can contest it. Your mother made sure of that. Just then, my phone started buzzing with texts from Madison. Where are you? Dad's looking for you. He wants to talk about realistic college options, lol. Better hurry home before you lose your room too. I showed the messages to Mr. Harrison, along with the photos I'd taken of the shredded acceptance letters. He frowned. This is exactly what your mother wanted to protect you from. Would you like me to handle the situation? I thought about it for a moment. Not yet. I think Mom would want me to handle this my way. He nodded approvingly. Just like Emily, she never rushed into confrontation either. Always waited for the right moment. As I left the office, I felt lighter somehow. The weight of uncertainty that had been crushing me since Mom's death was gone, replaced by a sense of quiet confidence. When I arrived home, Richard and the twins were waiting in the living room, their expressions a mixture of smugness and false concern. Olivia, Richard began, using his reasonable parent voice. Madison and Tyler told me about what happened with your college letters. While I don't condone their methods, perhaps this is an opportunity to discuss more suitable options for your future. I sat down calmly, noting how the twins shifted uncomfortably at my lack of distress. What's wrong with her? Tyler whispered to Madison. She should be crying or something. Actually, I said, my voice steady. I already have my college plans sorted out. Mom made sure of that. Richard's patronizing smile faltered slightly. Now, Olivia, I know Emily had ambitious dreams for you, but we need to be realistic about financial limitations. I thought about the trust fund documents in my bag, about Mom's letter, about all the times she'd worked late while Richard took the twins on shopping sprees. You're right, I said, watching their faces light up with premature victory. We should be realistic about finances. That's exactly what Mom was, realistic, but I think we should save that discussion for tomorrow. Mr. Harrison would explain it better than I could. The color drained from Richard's face. Harrison, Emily's lawyer? What does he have to do with this? I stood up, enjoying their confused expressions. Everything. He has to do with everything. But don't worry, you'll all find out soon enough. As I walked upstairs, I heard Madison's shrill voice. Dad, what's going on? Why does she look so happy? I closed my bedroom door, silencing their worried conversations. Pulling out Mom's letter again, I read it one more time, imagining her voice, her quiet strength. Tomorrow would bring chaos, I was sure. Richard would bluster about family loyalty, the twins would throw tantrums about fairness, but none of that mattered anymore. Mom had given me more than just financial security. She'd given me the power to choose my own path. I opened my laptop and began composing emails to Harvard, Yale, and Columbia, accepting their offers and requesting fresh copies of my acceptance letters. Let Madison and Tyler keep the shredded ones as souvenirs. I had bigger things to focus on. My phone buzzed again. More demanding texts from the twins, but I ignored them. Mom always said that true power lies in knowing when to act and when to stay quiet. Right now, silence was my greatest weapon. Tomorrow would be soon enough for revelations. Tonight was for making plans, plans that would make my mother proud. The next morning, the atmosphere in the house was electric with tension. I came downstairs to find Richard pacing in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, attempting to reach Mr. Harrison's office. Madison and Tyler huddled over their phones, frantically Googling information about trust funds and inheritance laws. "This is ridiculous," Richard snapped, slamming his phone down. "I'm your legal guardian. I have a right to know about any financial arrangements involving my stepdaughter." I poured myself a cup of coffee, savoring the moment. "Actually, you don't. Mom made sure of that." Before he could respond, the doorbell rang. Mr. Harrison stood there, impeccable in his charcoal suit, holding a briefcase. Behind him was a woman I recognized from photos. My mother's older sister, Aunt Sophie, whom Richard had conveniently forgotten to invite to family events since Mom's passing. "Perfect timing," I said, letting them in. "We were just discussing Mom's arrangements." The twins scrambled to look presentable while Richard straightened his posture, switching to his business persona. "Mr. Harrison, this really isn't necessary. Family matters should be handled within the family." "That's exactly why I'm here," Aunt Sophie interjected, her voice carrying the same quiet strength my mother's had. "Because family matters." Mr. Harrison set his briefcase on the dining room table. "Miss Bennett has asked me to explain the details of her mother's educational trust fund, as well as address some concerning behavior regarding her college acceptance letters." He pulled out the photos I'd taken of the shredded letters. Madison's designer shoe prints were clearly visible on the fragments. The twins shifted uncomfortably. "That's just silly teenage drama," Richard attempted to dismiss it. "Nothing worth involving lawyers over." On the contrary, Mr. Harrison continued, "attempting to interfere with someone's educational opportunities is a serious matter, especially when the person in question has been accepted to several prestigious institutions." He produced copies of my acceptance letters, pristine, official, and very much valid. The twins' faces paled. "Now, regarding the trust fund," Mr. Harrison opened another folder. "Emily Bennett established this fund 5 years ago, using her inheritance, personal savings, and investment returns. The total amount, as of today, is sufficient to cover Miss Bennett's undergraduate and graduate education at any institution of her choice, with considerable funds remaining for living expenses." Richard's jaw tightened. "Emily never mentioned any of this." "She didn't need to," Aunt Sophie spoke up. "My sister was smart enough to know that some people might try to interfere with Olivia's future. She protected her daughter the best way she knew how, by being prepared." Madison stood up suddenly. "This isn't fair. Dad, you can't let her have all that money. What about our college funds?" "Your college funds," Mr. Harrison noted dryly, "remain exactly as your father arranged them. This money has nothing to do with your father or his assets. It comes solely from Emily's personal resources." Tyler, always quicker to understand financial matters than his sister, slumped in his chair. "We can't touch it, can we? Any of it?" "No," I said simply. "You can't." Richard made one last attempt to assert control. "Olivia, be reasonable. We're your family now. We should discuss this together, make decisions as a unit." "Family?" Aunt Sophie's laugh was bitter. "Is that what you call people who destroy college acceptance letters, who try to crush a young woman's dreams out of spite?" I raised my hand, silencing the brewing argument. "I've already made my decisions. I'm going to Harvard in the fall. The trust fund will cover everything I need." And I added, looking directly at Richard, "I'm moving in with Aunt Sophie until then." "You can't just leave," Madison protested. "Dad, tell her she can't leave." But Richard's power was crumbling before our eyes. The man who'd spent years subtly undermining my achievements, who'd allowed his children to bully me while preaching about family unity, finally realized he had no control over this situation. "There's one more thing," Mr. Harrison said, pulling out a final document. "Emily left instructions about the house." Richard's head snapped up. "The house is in my name." "The house," Mr. Harrison corrected, "was purchased jointly, with Emily contributing 60% of the down payment. Her will specifies that her share passes to Olivia upon her 18th birthday. The silence that followed was deafening. So I said, standing up, you all have two choices. Either we can arrange a buyout of my share of the house, or we can put it on the market and split the proceeds according to the ownership percentages. Madison burst into tears, while Tyler stared at the table, his earlier arrogance completely deflated. Richard looked like he aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I'll start packing my things, I announced. Aunt Sophie, could you help me? As we climbed the stairs, I heard Madison's shrill voice. Dad, do something. But there was nothing he could do. My mother, brilliant and foresighted as always, had made sure of that. In my room, Aunt Sophie helped me pack while sharing stories about Mom, stories of her strength, her determination, her quiet ways of fighting battles nobody knew were happening. Your mother, she said, carefully wrapping Mom's photo frame, always said that the best revenge isn't about hurting others. It's about making sure they can't hurt you. By evening, my things were packed and loaded into Aunt Sophie's car. The twins had retreated to their rooms, their world of privilege and entitlement shaken to its core. Richard stood in the doorway, watching as I prepared to leave. You know, I said, turning to him one last time, Mom never wanted this kind of division. She just wanted me to have a fair chance at my dreams. He nodded slowly, perhaps finally understanding the woman he'd married and lost. Emily was. She was always smarter than I gave her credit for. Yes, I agreed, she was. As we drove away, Aunt Sophie glanced at me. You handled that very gracefully. Emily would be proud. I touched the locket containing Mom's picture. She taught me well. Sometimes the biggest victories come from simply being prepared. 2 months later, I stood in my dorm room at Harvard, unpacking my things. Madison and Tyler had started at the State University. Their father's financial troubles after the house buyout had affected their college choices considerably. On my desk, I placed the framed photo of Mom and me from my high school graduation. Next to it, I set a small box containing the shredded acceptance letters, a reminder that sometimes the best response to cruelty is simply to succeed. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Sophie. First day of classes tomorrow. Emily would be so proud of you, honey. Show them what a prepared woman can do. I smiled, looking around at my new beginning. Mom had given me more than just financial security. She taught me the power of quiet strength, of planning ahead, and of never letting anyone else define my worth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting ahead, on your own terms.